Welcome back to Wave of Docker. First Orioles video we've done in a long time. But I wanted to do, I'm going to be doing State of the Orioles address every week during the MLB season. And I feel like the last domino just fell in the Orioles offseason. I guess that's fair. Anthony Santander signing a 5-year, $90 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Bummer. Hate to see him go. But I feel like that was a good way to kick off my Orioles content. Just seeing that last domino, as I said earlier, fall for the Orioles offseason. So, I'm just going to go over what we did in the offseason and just kind of where I'm at mentally with this team and, expectations. So, yeah, like and subscribe. So, I feel like the big start to this offseason was signing Tyler O'Neill. And the funny thing with this is that this was the first domino to fall for the Orioles offseason, and it kind of, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, okay, so we're not getting Tony back. And then the last thing that happens in the Orioles offseason is that Anthony Santander signs elsewhere. And I wasn't mad about this. When I saw this, I was like, okay, that's something. I mean, he's essentially a very similar bat to Anthony Santander minus the health. Like you can see, 113 this past season, 72, 96. He hasn't played more than 140 games his entire career. And, hopefully that, look at his 2021 season when they made the playoffs with that. They were that team that won 15 games in a row, 286, 34 home runs, 6 WAR, 148 OPS plus. Those are really good counting stats. But he hasn't, played more than 120 games since then. So obviously that's a bummer. But I feel like if he can stay healthy, because Santander, like I said, he was great for this team and he stayed healthy. So that was a big plus with him. He was always playing, upwards of 140 games a year, I feel like, since he's been in the league with us. Yeah, 155, 153, 152. That's impressive. So if O'Neill can stay healthy, like I said, he's a very similar bat to Santander. I think he's a really solid defender, really great arm, one of the best arms in the league. He'll probably be getting similar. He'll probably be DHing and playing right field just like Tony was. But yeah, once that happened, I was like, okay, so obviously we're not getting Santander back, and then it took practically over a month for that to actually happen. And then we signed Gary Sanchez, a James McCann replacement, and I'm not really upset with that. We did sign, I think Robinson Chirinos is now a consultant or something with the Orioles, obviously coming back to us he was with us 2022, and he was really helpful in the development of Adley Rutschman, so getting him back in the organization will hopefully lead to another great season from Adley after he had that really off year last year. But yeah, Gary Sanchez, he's not what he was in New York. He went to the Twins, he went to the Mets, he went to the Padres, he went to Milwaukee. He hasn't really been the same guy. He's not playing as much. He's definitely, in Milwaukee they have William. In San Diego they had, I guess he was pretty much, who was the everyday catcher in that Padres team? No, I guess it was Gary, and then it was, Luis Campusano. But yeah, Gary Sanchez is essentially a James McCann replacement. He's a better bat throughout the length of his career than James McCann. And I've been talking about this, with friends and family that are also Orioles fans, saying, I want to see Adley slowly phase out of being our everyday catcher. I love Adley, but I love his bat more than his glove. And obviously we have Samuel Basallo as one of our top prospects, catcher with the Tides right now, only 20 years old. And, if he's not traded, God forbid we trade him, unless it's for something insane, I'd like him to be our everyday catcher and shift Adley to a DH first base role. I think that'd be really beneficial, because the whole thing last year, Mike Glass was saying, oh, that was just kind of due to the fact that he, the wear and tear of a catcher. But it's this guy's 26 years old and he's having that much of a fall off after catching for 140 games or 120 games. I don't know, just kind of unacceptable. So I'm hoping that Adley catches max 110 games this year. I really don't need him to be a catcher. I think Gary Sanchez is a solid defensive catcher, and he's a much better bat than James McCann, so I'm not going to be as upset seeing him on either Adley off days or Adley DH days. So I was okay with this. And then, just a lot of, minimal stuff for the rest of December. It was nice to get Matt Bowman back. I thought he was pretty solid last year. He had some really nice pitches. And then we look ahead to January where a lot of other things happened. Charlie Morton was a big point of contention. This was just kind of like a spit in the face. Like, we miss out on all these really great pitchers. We miss out, obviously. I mean, before this, we missed out on Snell. We missed out on, I think Burns signed before this. No, he signed after. But we missed out on Snell, Fried, Burns, obviously. We missed out on Sasaki. We missed out on, who are some other big names? Shoot. I mean, point is, we miss out on a lot of these big name pitchers. Obviously, like, we lose Burns to Arizona, and then we kind of, like, the cherry on top with all those missed free agents was, how's my chair? The cherry on top with all those missed free agents was, oh yeah, we got Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton, like the 40-year-old pitcher, and he's a workhorse. He's been in the league a long time. He's won 2 World Series. Like, all props to him. He is a good pitcher. He's a decorated pitcher. But it's like he'll be helpful. Like, he's going to be Kyle Gibson, and I think overall, he's 41 years old. He's going to turn, he's not going to turn 42 during the season, but he's old. He's going to be a Kyle Gibson type. Like, he's going to eat innings. He's going to hopefully make 25, 30 starts. But, the youth movement has kind of been the Orioles' mantra over the last, 3-4 seasons with all these great prospects coming up. And then we go out and we sign, like, the oldest pitcher on the market. I wasn't mad, but I was just like, it's just kind of disappointing. Just missing out on all these arms and then being like, oh, well, we got Charlie Morton. But, I think it'll be helpful. And, it looks like a rotation of probably at least opening day. I don't know if Bradford's going to be back by then, but it's going to be like Eflin, Grayson, Morton, Kramer, and then probably Sugano. And I've not really done my research on Sugano as much as I really should have, I feel like. But another older guy coming over from, I believe, Japan. Let me see if I can find. Did they have his numbers in here? Tomoyuki Sugano. Here we go. He's 34 years old, another older guy. But, he's been excellent in the Japanese league, which, obviously is much different from the MLB. But you've seen players come over and be successful, so we'll see. I'm curious to see how the rotation shapes up after Bradish returns. Hopefully that doesn't mean that we phase Kramer out, because I'm a big Dean Kramer fan, as you probably already know. But, we're getting a lot of arms back. We're getting Bautista back. We're getting Bradish back. I think if the team can stay healthy throughout the entire season, I think that's most important. But I think the offensive identity is. And we still have Albert Suarez. Like we're getting Tyler Wells back. We're getting Bautista back. I think we have a lot of really good potential arms. My ideal rotation, like when fully healthy and no more changes are made, is Bradish, Eflin, Grayson. First off, that's a really great front three. And then Morton, Kramer. I think Kramer needs to stay in the rotation. I'll be really bummed out and disappointed if he gets phased out, just because I think he's a workhorse. He can give you 5-6 strong innings. He, obviously last year he was injured, but I just think he's one of our more consistent pitchers. I know that's not really the sentiment around the fan base with him, but I just think you've seen it the last 3 seasons. He's been pitching these big games, big game Crane, as he's affectionately known by everyone, not just me. So yeah, we're getting a lot of healthy arms back. I'm curious to see how Cade Povich pans out this year, either with AAA or maybe as a bullpen arm. I really like Cade. I think he showed us some really good stuff the latter half of the season. Still have Chase McDermott. So I don't know. I think the pitching, if he can stay healthy, would be really great this year. I'd love to see us trade for a top-end guy like a Dylan Cease, like a Luis Castillo. I don't know. The pitching is great. I think the issue, obviously, as we saw in the playoffs last year, is the bats. We like fired everybody, pretty much, besides Brandon Hyde, which I still don't agree with. I think he should definitely. I don't know. I'm just the Brandon Hyde thing is just. I don't know. He's like. I'm an Eagles fan. What a lot of people feel about Nick Sirianni, that's how I feel about Brandon Hyde. I like Nick Sirianni a lot. I think he's a great clubhouse guy or a great, locker room guy. Like I think he's a mentality coach, and you've seen that he's like the most winning coach in the league since he's joined the league. He has like the highest winning percentage in NFL history. But Brandon Hyde, he's just too old fashioned. He's too righty lefty. Like the big point of contention last year was pinch hitting to get that righty lefty matchup. Like we pinch hit Ryan O'Hearn for Austin Slater, who has worse numbers against righties against lefties than Ryan O'Hearn does. It was just a whole thing. I hope the offensive philosophy changes a lot this year. I think we were going too much for the long ball. Like you look at Adley's numbers last year, and it was just, it's like The Godfather. Like look how they massacred my boy. Like he just took such a steep fall off. Like he needs to be 2023. I feel is the benchmark Adley season. Like that needs to be where he hovers around. Like I think he at max is like a 310 hitter. Like I think he's a Buster Posey-esque bat. And I think that's like he can OPS over 900, I think. Like he just needs to I don't know. Adley is much more than what last season dictated optically. Like he started off so hot, obviously he was an all-star, and then he just took a hit, and it's just such a bummer to watch that happen. And I think we need to be a on-base contact team and not a swing for the fences. Like we have these power bats. We have Gunnar, who obviously hit 37, 38 home runs last year. Mountcastle has power output. O'Hearn has power output. Jordan Westberg has power output. Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins, Tyler O'Neill obviously hit 30 home runs last year. But you obviously saw in the playoffs last year, our offense just was pitiful, only scoring 1 run in 2 games across 18 innings while our starters went out and had, the playoff starts of their lives. So the pitching, aesthetically from this point, obviously season is still like 2 months away, but looking at it now, I think the pitching will not be the issue. Or the pitching is in a okay place right now. It could be in a much, much, much better place. But I think if Grayson takes a big leap, Eflin, I'm a really big fan of Eflin. Bradish, if he, comes back strong, obviously coming back from Tommy John is no small feat. Cano could have a bounce back here, but Batista being a much better closer than Craig Kimbrell, obviously, if he can, coming back from Tommy John, like I said, is no small feat. But I think if you look at the potential with a lot of these arms, I see really great seasons out of all of them. Trevor Rogers, still haven't seen anything remotely good from him, but maybe, he's been workshopping himself in the offseason. I'm still that trade, losing Norby and Stowers for a guy who made 3 shitty starts and then got sent down, which just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin, I feel like, for last year. But, he has potential to be a really good arm. So, yeah, pitching, I think, is in as good a place as it can be. No, that's not even. I don't really know how to spin this positively, but I'm. I don't know. It's not. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to spin it positively, but it's like, obviously we lose Burns, but I think getting Bradish back and Batista back supplements that enough for me. I don't know. It's really tricky. The Orioles, I don't know. I feel okay with the pitching based on the fact that we missed out on so many pitches. Like looking at these arms and seeing how they are at their best, and obviously that's not what you're going to get for 162 games a year. I am okay with this. I don't know. It's wishy-washy, but the bats is where, like you saw Adley had an off-season. I think Cedric had an off-season. Mountie had an off-season. Kobe Mayo still hasn't really gotten to where you want him to be. Jorge Mateo was really solid, but then, we missed him after he, snapped his leg in 33 pieces. Jackson Holiday had a great week. O'Hearn had a really steep fall off. Emmanuel Rivera was a pleasant surprise. I really don't want to see him for more than 80 games this year. Ramon Arias, anytime that he does something bad in the field, he makes up for it with some miraculous 8th inning double. I don't know. the bats are where, like, we really need to see some, like, leaps being made by some of these guys. Obviously, the the Mounties and the Cedric Mullins of the years, the pillars of this team the last 6 years now that Tony's been gone are getting up there in age, but I don't know. Obviously, I'm a glass half full person when it comes to the Orioles, I feel like, because I don't even know if that's true. I don't know. I'm not entirely bought into this season just yet. I hope that Jeff Passan breaks something insanely awesome about his trading, like Heston Kjerstad and somebody else, or like Heston Kjerstad and Dylan Beavers for like Dylan Cease. Like, I think that'd be really great. But yeah, Buck Britton getting promoted, that's pretty cool, I guess. Anthony Sanders, Tony Mansolino, those are my dogs. Drew French sticking around, I think, is really great. Like I said, our pitching last year was solid. It was just our bats. And I think if our bats can change their philosophy and we can see some really great leaps from the youth movement, I think we'll have a really solid season. But like I said, I'm not entirely bought in to this just yet. I don't know. The Orioles confuse me. I'm kind of in Eagles mode right now for good reason. NFC Championship. Jalen Hurts, my GOAT. Saquon Barkley saved my life. Fuck yeah. Jalen Carter. That's God for all I care, honestly. But yeah, not entirely bought into this season just yet. But once pitchers and catchers report and I see those social media pics of Adley being all cute, I'm sure I'll be a lot happier. But a disappointing offseason. I think I could say that confidently, and I'm sure 90% of Orioles fans will agree with that. So yeah, I'll probably do like a standings prediction video coming up soon, but I just wanted to get, a little Orioles rant out of the way. That's all I do. I just rant, and I just, this is how I'm feeling about the Orioles. And it's not bad, it's not good. I'm not bought in just yet. And it stinks. But go O's, as always. Those Dodgers, man, they're scary. I don't know how anybody's going to beat them for the next, 7 years. Go O's, I guess. Peace out.